I mean, that really is terribly psychotic, I think.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today, we're looking at 10 ruthless killers who helped define the 80s as a decade of terror.
What was remarkable was that he was so normal.
Allan Legere.
He was almost like the boogeyman.
It was like we were chasing a ghost. It was like he could see us somehow, and we couldn't see him.
The title, Monster of Miramichi, sounds like a legend, right? But this monster was very real. Back in 1986, Allan Legere and his accomplices brutally beat and murdered a shopkeeper during a robbery, earning him a life sentence. But even prison couldn't keep this monster at bay.
The assumption was, what do small-town hoods do when they escape from prison? They disappear.
Little did we know that wasn't what was going to happen.
2 years into his sentence, he escaped custody during a hospital visit and vanished into the woods of New Brunswick. What followed was 7 months of pure terror. 4 murders, indecent assaults, arson, all while evading capture and spreading fear across an entire region. By the time he was finally recaptured in 1989, Legere had become one of Canada's most dreaded fugitives. He may have been locked away once more, but the effects of his actions still linger.
As life finally returned to normal for the residents of the Miramichi, many were left wondering why one of their own had waged such a brutal war on their community.
Lonnie David Franklin Jr.
And I was completely shocked when I heard this, because I had never heard anything before about any serial killer in South Central.
A dreaded killer disappears for 14 years. Nobody knows if he's dead or just waiting. That was Lonnie David Franklin Jr., the man the city would come to know as the Grim Sleeper. His spree began in the mid-'80s, preying on women in South Los Angeles, leaving bodies and terror in his wake.
And I'm lucky that he didn't shoot me, because I didn't do nothing he wanted me to do. Damn. I made it out the rapture. He didn't get me.
Then, suddenly, he vanished from 1988 to 2002, leaving the city wondering if the nightmare was over. When Franklin resurfaced, DNA tied him to at least 10 murders, plus assaults spanning decades. Arrested in 2010, he was finally sentenced to death in 2016. The Grim Sleeper may have stopped, but his shadow still haunts the city.
The so-called Grim Sleeper trial is attracting attention from across the country, not only for the nature of the crimes, but also the way this infamous cold case was finally cracked.
Doug Clark and Carol Bundy.
Douglas Clark and Carol Bundy would act out their darkest desires and leave a trail of bloodshed in their wake.
They were absolutely the couple from hell, everybody's worst nightmare.
There is a darkness which can be found in fantasy for Doug Clark and Carol Bundy. The Sunset Strip killers, that darkness bled into reality and became deadly. In 1980, Los Angeles turned into their playground of terror, luring mostly young women into a series of unspeakable events. Bundy joined Clark in acts that defy imagination, and she even shot a man, John Murray, who she feared would reveal their crimes.
Jeanette Murray would receive the news she'd been dreading.
They said they found the van, and I said, "He's dead, isn't he?" And he said, "Yeah."
Their apartment became a chilling theater of obsession and cruelty, where the duo killed around 7 victims. By the time the police finally caught them, the Sunset Strip killers had shown just how far untamed intimacy can escalate into unthinkable violence.
Doug never stopped bragging about his sexual exploits, and one always has to wonder, I think, when somebody brags too much about their sexual exploits, what they're really trying to hide.
Dennis Nilsson.
And they found what looked like bits of flesh. Nilsson suggested that could be somebody had flushed their Kentucky Fried Chicken out or something like that, and that would be the explanation for little bones and flesh.
He looked ordinary, lonely, calm, the kind you'd never link to danger. But behind that polite exterior, Dennis Nilsson was a horror show waiting to unfold. Between 1978 and 1983, he lured men to his North London flat with offers of shelter, food, or companionship. Once they let their guard down, that seeming kindness turned fatal.
One he described as a skinhead that he met in the West End. Another was a young man from Northern Ireland.
The omelette boy. This is the man who he cooked an omelette for before he killed him.
Nilsen would strangle or drown them, then wash and dress their corpses, talking to them as if they were still alive. In just 5 years, at least 12 young men fell victim to his twisted rituals. When the clogged drains, stuffed with human flesh and bone, led the police to his door, the hidden nightmare finally came to light.
I said to him, look, your drains were blocked with human remains. And he looked at me and he said, oh my God, how awful. And I just pushed my face a little bit nearer to his and said, don't mess about. Where's the rest of the body?
Henry Lee Lucas and Ottis Toole.
Families were pleased. You have a member of your family killed. You want to find out the perpetrator.
Some nightmares are born from misery, and Henry Lucas and Ottis Toole were living proof. Both men came from chaos. Lucas endured an abusive mother and forced humiliation, and Toole faced similar horrors. Safe to say, they were both scarred for life. Lucas even stabbed his own mother to death. When the duo crossed paths at a soup kitchen in 1976, it was like evil found its reflection, sparking something monstrous.
Did you really kill your mama?
What?
Did you really kill your mama?
I guess I did.
Together, as lovers, they drifted across America, leaving behind a trail of abduction, murder, and even cannibalism. When they were eventually arrested, they confessed to hundreds of killings, including Adam Walsh's death. Though only a handful were proven, their story began in pain, and through the 80s, their darkness consumed everything in its path.
I'd like to kill somebody. Say that again. I'd like to kill somebody. Must mean you go for a ride, Otis.
Aileen Wuornos.
The dark woods off Florida's highways. It was down dirt roads like this that 7 men met the madness of one angry woman.
Ever wonder where the darkness in people comes from? For Aileen Wuornos, the answer isn't clear. Was it her distorted upbringing or something else? Whatever it was, she remains one of the most terrifying female serial killers in history. Between 1989 and 1990, she prowled Florida's highways, murdering 7 men.
But you've been convicted of killing 7 men.
Everybody's looking at the number.
Does that not... You killed 7 men, 7 strangers. Does that not make you a serial killer?
So I didn't kill them every day, did I? Did I go out there every day and say, I'm going to kill? If I did, there would be hundreds.
Well, no, it took you 12 months.
Yeah.
She claimed each man had tried to indecently assault her while she worked as a sex worker. But something about the coldness and the chilling precision of her actions suggested far more sinister motives. Arrested in 1991, her usual calm in court and ultimate execution in 2002 only deepened the mystery. Trauma or something else far more sinister? Wuornos left a trail of questions. But one thing's certain, she carried evil within.
We can be as different as we want to be, but you can't kill people.
Says who?
I'm good with the Lord.
Andrei Chikatilo.
Citizen Chikatilo, you're under arrest. I was on my way home.
You don't just earn the name Butcher of Rostov without leaving a shadowy trail of terror behind you. Between 1978 and 1990, Andrei Chikatilo murdered at least 52 women and minors across the Soviet Union. In a regime unprepared for such horror, authorities struggled to grasp the unfolding nightmare. He kidnapped victims at train stations, bus depots, and lonely forests, unleashing mutilation, sexual violence, and even cannibalism.
Strange, it's worse not finding bodies than finding them. At least each time we found another body, we had another chance to find a fingerprint or a witness. This way, I'd rather find 3 at a time than none in a year.
Most of his killings happened in the frightening decade of the 80s, when he was finally arrested in 1990 and later executed in 1994. His monstrous spree was brought to an end, but eerie tales of his brutality lingered, from his first victim to the last, Chikatilo's darkness wasn't just a phase. It was a shadow that still haunts Russia.
You are aware, I am sure, that never in the history of the Soviet Union has a psychiatrist been brought into a murder case.
I know. You will be the first.
Gary Ridgway.
They looked at a victim as an object for their excitement. Basically, you're talking about a sexual psychopath.
Pure evil doesn't always make a scene. Sometimes it just blends into the crowd. Gary Ridgway was that kind of evil. To his neighbors, he was merely a truck painter and an overly religious man. For years, no one guessed he was the Green River Killer. During the 80s and 90s, he hunted along the highways of Washington state. Ridgway strangled dozens of vulnerable women, then dumped their bodies near the river that gave him his name.
Winter and spring 1984, 4 more girls gone.
There would be 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 in one spot.
Unbelievable.
Sometimes he'd return to those sites to commit unspeakable acts. For decades, he slipped through the police's fingers, hiding behind normalcy, until DNA testing finally caught up with him in 2001. With 49 confirmed victims, it turns out evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes evil, it's just your neighbor.
A DNA match had connected 52-year-old truck painter Gary Ridgway with the first few victims.
He had been identified as the most prolific serial killer in the history of the United States.
Richard Ramirez.
The Sheriff's Department is currently conducting an investigation, a series of homicides and sexual assaults that have occurred in Los Angeles County.
Most serial killers follow a pattern, a type of victim, a preferred weapon, a distinctive signature. Not Richard Ramirez. The Night Stalker, as he was called, had no rules, no code. He struck anyone, anywhere, with whatever weapon he could grab. Between 1984 and 1985, he terrorized Los Angeles and the Bay Area, murdering at least 14 people.
Nobody knows where this individual may strike next.
The same man is suspected in 6 to 8 murders and 25 to 30 attacks.
No one was off limits. Young or old, man or woman. He shot, stabbed, and strangled his victims. Homes became traps. Neighborhoods trembled, and the city was paralyzed with fear. When the law finally caught him, his terrifying calm at trial revealed a man who viewed murder as ordinary. Ramirez's reign may have been short, but his unpredictable, vicious spree will always be remembered.
Why on earth would you have hurt those people? Why did you kill those people?
No comments. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Jeffrey Dahmer.
That night, people were afraid. People were whispering under their breaths, you know, it was the devil. It's the devil.
It's clear the 1980s spawned some of the deadliest killers. But Jeffrey Dahmer? He was as ruthless as they come. Known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, Dahmer preyed on young men between 1978 and 1991, luring them from bars into his apartment. Most of the 17 murders attributed to him happened in the 80s, and his methods were disturbingly meticulous.
We saw a large blue barrel in which we know that Jeffrey Dahmer was trying to dissolve body parts. They had a refrigerator that was holding skulls and also was holding body parts.
He strangled, dismembered, and preserved body parts, sometimes even consuming them. Skulls, genitals, and a heart were kept as trophies, a morbid record of his obsession. When police finally caught him in 1991, the world was forced to confront the sheer scale of his depravity. The details were grotesque, and even now, decades later, Dahmer's confessions still puzzle us. The 80s were no joke.
What I did, I should be dead.
Which of these 80s killers is the most dreaded? Let us know in the comments section.